Hi, this is SNEW with the crew. Not all the SNEW with the crew. I'm just a single person, but speaking on behalf of, we have 2 podcasts, and you're about to listen to one, and then the other one's called
The Snooze Button, and that's released on Tuesdays. This one is just another retrocast, which is released on, Paul?
Thursdays?
It is.
Magic.
Well done.
Sorry for
Good
the pause
stuff.
there. Paul was sat so far away from his microphone that he had to rotate through about 180 degrees just to get to it.
Well, I was relaxing. I was waiting for someone to turn over to side B. Flip the tape over.
Should we start the podcast? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Just Another Retrocast, episode 6.
Is it?
I don't know.
Is it?
About that.
I think it's if
What was the snooze
it's
button?
It's always in parallel. No, it can't be.
7,
because
I think,
we've done
wasn't it?
one
One out.
extra. Yeah, so this is episode 6.
With Mr. Paul Brown,
Hello there.
Mr. Ross Murphy,
Hello.
and me, Chris Quinton. This week on Just Another Retrocast, we're going to be looking at some 80s and 90s action movies for you folks. Because, yeah, you could argue that they're the best movies ever, eh?
Yeah, they don't make them like that no more, do
They
they?
don't, do they?
Right, let's just go straight in with why don't they make 18 movies anymore?
18 movies.
Yeah, movies that are rated 18
Oh, I
or
see.
R.
Does that
See
not
what you
happen
mean.
anymore then?
Very rarely.
R-rated movies. It's going to come back around, isn't it? But people did kind of realise at some point that you'd get more audience if you did a 12 or a PG
I don't care.
or a 15.
I literally don't care.
So
Like RoboCop's amazing because it's an 18.
Yeah, but if you released the original now, you'd be looking at, 15s? You'd
I
have
don't
to
know,
go
'cause
some now to have something that's just 18s and that's it.
A lot of what it is swearing, isn't it? Whereas the old films, they just
RoboCop
sweared
was
in it loads.
violent as well, though. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
but it's just lots of swearing as well that I think would stop it being just a 15.
What an amazing movie. Who directed that film?
Paul Verhoeven.
Ah, okay, so that's the guy. Oh, he did.
Right, straight away, let's talk about Paul Verhoeven, right? He directed RoboCop,
Is it all the movies with the adverts in them?
all the movies with the adverts. So he directed
Ah.
RoboCop, Total Recall,
The one with the
and
bugs?
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers.
All 3 of those films we could talk for hours about because
They are
they're all
all
fucking
amazing.
brilliant.
I used to get told I looked like one of the guys from Starship Troopers, the one that gets shot in the head on the training range.
Yeah.
You know the one I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, don't...
Is it true?
That's a live fire exercise.
There's a look.
Yeah, because you look Aryan, so you would have fitted in with that fascist dictatorship.
It's this one specific guy. It's the one that gets shot on the
Can
training
you?
range.
Can we get an animated GIF of it, please? Not now. To go on the web page.
What of the guy getting killed?
Yeah,
Okay, we'll see if we can find it.
it's a bug planet.
Who's the guy that's in Predator 2? The FBI agent that is concealing the fact that he knows about the Predator.
Oh, matey from.
Is he a Busey? Is that his name? Jake Busey, maybe?
No, it's. Oh shit, he's in Point Break as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's another cracking movie as well.
It's one of his brothers. Go on then, this director.
Yeah, so he directed RoboCop, which is just fucking brilliant. That film from start to finish.
Can you remember some of the adverts from RoboCop?
I'll buy that for $1.
Yep.
6000 SUX. Newcomb.
Is that the game?
Newcomb,
With the
yeah.
button. Yeah, it's very
Newcomb.
good,
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, whereas in the adverts in the Starship Troopers are more like political notifications, aren't they?
Kind of like your country needs you.
They're
and
like
that sort of
propaganda,
things,
aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. And then Total Recall. Are they adverts for Recall?
Yeah, and like the future and stuff.
Recall. Do you remember that guy?
No.
Do you remember that?
The best things in Total
No.
Recall are Quinton, open your mind, the little blob man, and
That was used as a sample in a 90s rave track, wasn't it? Do you remember
don't
it?
know, mate.
Yeah.
It was.
Who was it? Was it Felix? It wasn't Felix, was it? Did Felix do that one?
Don't know.
Open your mind. I do that to the missus. She hates it. She
She
loves
married
it.
you and everything.
I know. I say this. I say this to her. How?
You're a lucky man.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no idea how I've managed it.
Well, you say he's a lucky man. He's clearly married somebody with brain damage.
That may be the answer.
If you're listening, Mrs. Brown, we apologise on Ross's behalf.
She knows what he's like.
Yeah, anyway, so Paul Verhoeven movies are really good. RoboCop's the best, definitely by absolute mile. But
I
Starship
really like
Troopers
Total
is
Recall.
really good, and so is Total Recall.
Okay, I suppose, is the mark of a great film the quotable lines? Because I think maybe RoboCop has it on that one.
Give the man a hand.
That's it.
God, that scene's so violent.
Can you fly,
Yeah.
Bobby?
Yeah, he's really good. Just how mate, it's so 80s as well, isn't it? Where the executives just getting coked up, isn't he, with like two
true.
women. It's just hookers and cocaine, and the mate comes in. And he's
Bitches
like,
leave.
Bitches leave. And then it's just the sort of things that when you're 12 just are the best thing ever. Like when the woman's getting assaulted, and he shoots the guy in the nuts through her skirt.
Yeah.
Just the classics.
Amazing.
RoboCop 2's not all that, is it?
No.
With
No.
Kane.
It wasn't that a
and the
different
drug.
director?
Oh, I hate that little whiny kid in that
He's
film.
a bastard.
He's a little shitbag. He's like a Joffrey.
At the time, I fucking loved that movie.
What?
RoboCop 2.
Yeah.
It's because I was young and naive. But
I think I like the... I'll tell you what is bad. RoboCop 3. Worst movie
I've
ever.
not actually seen it all the way through.
It's
but
terrible.
It's too painful to watch, mate.
The computer
It's not
game,
even the right actor, is it, as RoboCop?
No.
The
No.
only person who's in it is Lewis, and she dies. Spoiler alert. Lewis dies.
Has it got a ninja robot in it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I have certainly seen some of it.
Because it's in the 90s and everything was ninjas.
Yeah.
What, like Kickboxer and Time Cop?
Like all the best ninja films. Yeah, everything.
Oh, American... What was that one called? American
Ninja. Yeah.
Was
Right,
there a
before we go right into Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
JVCD, as he likes to be called these days.
Does he?
Yep.
Yep.
Big
the
time.
artist
Paul-
formerly
Paul's-
known as.
Paul's a big fan of JVCD.
Does he actually like to be called JVCD?
Yep.
Wow.
No, it's JCVD, isn't it?
There's VD there somewhere.
Can you not just call him Juckford?
Juckford.
Juk.
Jafada.
yeah.
To be honest, it's just as annoying saying Jean-Claude Van Damme, isn't it? It's no easier.
Before we go into Jean-Claude
Yeah,
Van
sorry,
Damme.
what I wanted to say before we go into that, I can't remember what it's called. I think it might be called No Retreat, No Surrender.
Yep.
It
Yeah,
is
That's
called
the one.
Is
No
that the
Retreat, No Surrender.
kickboxing movie where he plays the bad
Nope.
guy? No.
Two total different actors. In fact, I think
No,
No
hang
Retreat.
on, listen to what I'm
Go
going
on.
to say, right? There's a movie, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called No Retreat, No Surrender. I might be wrong. There's a kid, right? He learns to kickbox.
Yeah.
He's taught
I know what you're going to say.
he's taught karate and kung fu by the ghost of Bruce Lee, and the bad guy is Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah. I think that is correct.
And it's fucking brilliant because it's just got a really brilliant fight scene at the end. It's a bit of a Rocky type movie, but obviously taught by the ghost of now past Bruce Lee.
So, No Retreat, No Surrender is not the one where there's a group of people that have to go into a tournament at the end.
Isn't that... I think we're thinking Bloodsport
Is
there,
that
aren't we?
Bloodsport?
Bloodsport's
Yeah,
great.
that's right. So what was the other one? No.
There was two. There was Kickboxer
Yeah. No,
and
what was
Bloodsport, and I think Kickboxer came first. That was
Okay.
about the international tournaments, wasn't
That's
it?
the one with his brother gets paralysed by the
I
Thai guy.
think so,
He
yeah.
goes
but
out on a
what's-
revenge mission and then they dip their gloves in Smarties at the end.
That could be Bloodsport. I can't... I think they're almost both the same film in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about Bloodsport and Kickboxer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is which?
They're very similar, aren't they?
Aren't they?
So which one's the one where they dip their gloves in chocolate?
I
When
When
he's
he's
reckon-
fighting Bolo.
hundreds and thousands and
It's
gummy
yeah.
bears and stuff at the end.
Yeah, that's it.
That's Hot Shots, isn't it?
It's Hot Shots. I didn't just imagine that. It did
No,
actually
no,
happen
no.
in a movie. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually it was broken glass, wasn't it? But it,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Hot Shots, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. I think importantly we need to, while talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme, is mention the really, really bad movies like Time Cop.
Time Cop. Is it really that bad?
Yes, it's terrible.
In my
isn't it?
memory, it's not that bad, but yeah, it's a memory thing.
I think if you were going to double bill two movies that you think are better than they actually are, you'd put on Time Cop followed by Demolition Man.
Ooh,
'Cause
Demolition Man.
I put it to you now, I bet Demolition Man's not very good.
In actual fact, I tried to watch it a few years back, and yes, it's fucking difficult to get through. But then again, in the 80s, that was all right, wasn't it? Or is that more 90s,
It is
Demolition
definitely
Man?
a 90s movie.
It's
Yeah.
in early 90s, isn't it?
I
It's like the
think
rise
about
of
the
Wesley
only thing
Snipes,
that
isn't
would
it?
make me sit through that is a 25-year-old Sandra Bullock.
Okay.
and the fact it's sort of a bit science fiction. It's a bit like what I like. No, sorry, I think Demolition Man's probably better than I was giving it credit for. Then it's a bit like the future in Demolition Man's a bit like it's the future for Bill and Ted, isn't it?
I suppose a little bit, yeah. Everything's a bit ethereal.
Again, I can't think Demolition Man. I get that confused with Judge Dredd.
So Demolition Man's the one where instead of airbags in the car, they have like a foam that freezes them into place, and they go and crash the car,
this
and
is
they
the one
have
where
to break themselves out.
He's woken up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like old Buck Rogers style.
And
he's got the 3 seashells.
it's Wesley Snipes' character carbon freezes himself.
That's right.
So he decides the only way to really chase the guy through time is to carbon freeze himself,
Wesley
isn't it?
Snipes is put in. He's captured and put in prison by Sylvester Stallone's character.
That's it, yeah.
Right.
But because of how many people died, like Sylvester Stallone also gets put in prison as well. And how you get put in prison those days, you just get carbon froze, and it's horrible because what you don't find out until the future is that your brain's just wearing away with itself while you're
you're trapped in there thinking the whole time, right?
And
sorry, Wesley Snipes. What the hell happened to him?
He went a bit nuts, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah. Did Passenger 47,
Yeah.
then off the fucking wrong end of the diving board.
Really?
Yeah.
didn't he cause a problem on a plane or something?
I think he did, yeah. Seem to remember that being the case.
Cyborg.
Cyborg?
Yeah. Van Damme movie came out at the same time as, well, a little bit after Terminator. Any thoughts there? It was him and Dolph Lundgren.
No, it's not called Cyborg.
Is it not called
It's
Cyborg?
called something Soldiers, isn't it?
Ah,
Universal Soldiers.
Universal Soldiers, but there was also Cyborg as well. Cyborg was one he did, and then it was Universal Soldiers. That's the one again, 2 films that have become one in my head.
Yeah, Universal Soldiers is not a good film, is it?
But at the time it was...
That's the one with Dolph Lundgren, right?
Yeah.
Again...
Kicks him on a spike at the end or something.
At the time, fantastic. You watch it now, shit.
But no, they're shit, but in a good way, aren't they?
Let's talk about Dolph Lundgren, PhD's bad movies, Masters of the
PhD?
Universe. Dolph Lundgren's got a PhD.
Yeah.
Has he really?
Yeah.
He's a professor at MIT, mate. He literally is way brainier than any movie he's ever been in. So Masters of the Universe, terrible film.
With a little cutscene that I didn't know was at the end. Did you?
No.
There's an end credits scene.
I did not know that.
After the credits, Skeletor comes up out of the water and says, "I'll be back," or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
He's not coming back. He's dead, mate.
Wow.
That's a bad movie.
It's terrible.
Courtney Cox is in it, isn't she? When she's
I
like
cannot remember.
17 or something.
Can you think of one good Dolph Lundgren film?
No, because The Punisher's not very good either.
No, they're all pretty bad.
Go on, give us one good Dolph Lundgren movie. Rocky 4.
Honestly, I can't.
Yeah, Rocky 4.
But that's not because of him, is it?
No, but it is a Dolph Lundgren
He's not the
movie.
starring role.
No.
He just happens to be. But that could be anybody playing that role.
I like Rocky 4.
I
really
like-
like
What's
it.
the one with Brandon Lee then? With Dolph Lundgren?
Oh, crikey.
What, you mean Brandon Lee was in something other than The Crow?
Yes. I was
Can
gonna
we
say,
just talk
yeah.
about how bad The Crow is now?
No, The Crow's good.
I
It's
love
not
The
a good
Crow.
film. You bunch of goth losers.
It's getting remade.
Yeah, it doesn't need remaking because it wasn't very good to start with.
Again, though, at the time it was fantastic.
No, I don't.
The
agree with that.
soundtrack was phenomenal. Soundtrack was fantastic.
It's
Really,
probably
really,
because you were an
very good.
angsty teenager. Why?
It was one of the first albums I ever bought, actually. Yeah.
Well, any film that's got 9 Inch Nails covering Joy Division.
Yeah. Very
I'm
true.
up for that.
Very true.
That sounds like a good idea, but that film's bad.
They keep calling me.
It's still not as good as the original, though, is
No.
it? Anyway, I'm not going to go on to that.
Okay.
Do you know what films I don't care about? I don't care about anything Bruce Willis has made, ever.
Do you know, I'm
No.
the same. I can watch him.
Do you know
but
what
I'm not-
really, really grinds my gears is when people start back. Well, it gets to about November and people go, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm really looking forward to? The best Christmas movie ever, Die Hard. It's not the best Christmas movie ever, is it?
Gremlins is.
Gremlins is a good film.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
I quite like Looper.
No, I quite like Die Hard, but I hate it that people think it's better than it is.
See, I like Die Hard, but only for the bad guy.
That's another one that had a really good
Hans Gruber, wasn't
TV
it? What was-
edit
Did it?
as well. Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah, there was some good...
Yippee-ki-yay, chemo savvy.
That's it. That needs to be on a T-shirt. That needs to be on a T-shirt.
One thing it wasn't that long ago I watched Die Hard and I thought, yeah, it's an alright movie. It's okay, yeah. And then I went, I'll watch Die Hard 2 because I definitely remember Die Hard 2 being brilliant because of the planes at the end.
Dreadful.
It's a really terrible film, isn't it?
Yep, I've never been able to watch it all the way through. It's just the pace of it.
That was on TV really recently, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, I think I caught the other half watching it, just the other day. Yeah,
dreadful.
The third one's quite good though, isn't it?
Which one is that?
The one with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it? Tell you what, the bloody computer game. What was that on PS1? Perhaps. Did you
There was a
play it?
couple.
Yeah, I think that was a reskin of a game from the arcade though, wasn't it? I know the one you're talking about.
It's fucking mental. So bad it's good.
There were 3 games in one. So
yeah,
it was
Die Hard Arcade was what it was called.
Was it?
And it was a reskin of a arcade game. I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head.
Even though one part of it was running around the office with a machine gun, trying to shoot people,
fairly sure,
in a third-person perspective. Another part of it was a first-person perspective, just on the screen target shooter, and then the third one was a driving game.
I don't know. Oh no, you might be thinking. I think there might have been a game called the Die Hard Trilogy.
Yes. Okay, that's it. Then,
yeah. So there was a game called the Die Hard Arcade, which is a reskin of a really good arcade game.
And that's a side scroller, isn't it?
No, it's more of a but more 3D than that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But
not Final Fight. Bit more like I don't know.
But it's really bad, isn't it? But it's so bad it's good.
Streets of Rage.
No, that's still two-dimensional for Die Hard.
I'm trying to think of arcade games with guns and Narc.
Yeah, sort of that sort of angle, but only a lot more 3D.
Okay,
but sideways scroller, but really bad. I remember it had really bad sound bites from the from films. So he'd be running around saying yippee-ki-yay all the time and it's just dreadful, but really good bad. So it was in keeping with the films.
Fair.
Yeah, that was it. Die Hard Arcade is a game called Dynamite Cop, basically, or Dynamite Detective.
So there you go. Yeah. So we've not gotten to the muscles from Brussels yet, have we? Oh no, we have muscles from Brussels. The what's he called Schwarzenegger. I don't know if you've heard this one, but his accent over there, from where he comes from in his part of the world, is the equivalent of he suffers from the same problem David Prowse did.
David Prowse
was the body of Darth Vader.
Oh yes, okay.
But his accent was a bit too West Country, you see.
Okay, yeah.
And the equivalent.
I'm your father.
I
want to get those death.
I'm your father.
Plans.
Anyway, he has the same problem over there because they can't take him seriously.
Right.
In Austria, because his accent, he has quite a strong sort of, the equivalent of a strong farmer's accent.
Oh, wow.
So there you go.
Interesting.
Oi, boy, it's about time you got to the chopper. I tell you what, if it bleeds, we can kill it. Oh, there's too many, isn't there? The thing is, one of the best Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. If you want to get into Arnie action movies, the best thing to do is start with Commando. I've said this time and time again.
I had to let him go.
80 minutes long, yeah. So it's a perfect length for an action movie, and it's pretty much relentless. Like, there's a little setup at the start where his daughter gets kidnapped, I think, maybe, and then he finds a girl to help him out because you have to have the sort of sidekick who's like a bit flustered by it all. Rocket launcher, and they go to a gun store. I'm sure it's just a gun store, but it's a gun store like in Nevada where they sell every gun ever. And the rocket launcher fires out the car backwards, makes the car move forward. Then he does that bit where every action montage ever is based on how he kits himself up for the final assault, isn't it? Because he clips on every gun and belt and knife in existence. And then he kills more people than ever got killed in a movie before that in that final scene. He also does that thing where he kills the guy on the plane and just what's he say? He's taking a nap. Here's over and having a nap.
The action montage, though, what you mentioned. See, I missed that.
Just general action montages.
Every 80s action movie had to have an action montage at one point.
I fucking love the Rocky montages, especially the one in Rocky 4, because it's like, I'm just going to train in the mountains. And
On
then,
a farm.
But Dolph Lundgren's like, I'm just going to be running on a treadmill and injected with drugs.
I'm a
So, it's so funny how actually Rocky 4 basically is true. Russia has cheated at sport for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
That wasn't Western propaganda. It turns out to be fact. Yeah, so anyway, Arnold Schwarzenegger, right. Brilliant action star. Also, competent comedian. But we're not talking about those movies. I just want to say Twins is brilliant.
I think he's just a competent actor all round. Actually, he was, and Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who watched
Sylvester Stallone.
I love the Rambo movies.
He's a great actor though. He is good. When he's good, he's good.
I'm surprised he didn't end up with any comedy roles. Actually, did he?
Maybe he's not very funny.
He's probably just turned him down. Although, arguably, his role in Death Race 2000 was a comedy role.
Okay, the whole thing was a bit satirical.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as well.
I've still not seen
it's
that
got
bit.
a light-hearted-ish.
Do you know the weird thing? I
in
know
that.
this is a super on topic, but also hugely off topic. I've never seen any of the Expendables.
Have you not?
No, we're sat here gushing about the Expendables before they became the Expendables, and
Okay.
I've literally got no interest in watching those.
They're
films.
everything you would have wanted an 80s and 90s action movie to be. They are.
Really?
They're like the 80s and 90s never grew up.
That sounds like I might enjoy them.
They're terrible, but they're only terrible for the same reasons that you used to love movies when you were a kid.
But there's a difference. They're being terrible for a reason. They're being nostalgically terrible, whereas the old films weren't trying to be terrible. They just were, and that's the charm of them.
It was
I
the
think.
80s. You hammed it up, right?
Yeah, and that's the charm of them.
Yeah.
Everything had to be bigger, better, bolder, brighter in the 80s. And I think that's the charm of it all. It was all pretending to be something it wasn't.
Cool. Yeah,
Obviously, we're sort of still talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger, so we ought to mention Terminator 1 and Terminator 2.
Very true.
Both are two brilliant movies.
Actually, legitimately good, yeah.
Yeah, like about as perfect as a movie gets, both of them.
Although I found just recently, I say recently, in the last 5 years, I've watched them both again. I went on a mission when Genesis came out.
Genesis.
And watched all 4 Terminator movies.
Fucking hell, you're mental.
And Terminator 1 was easier to sit through than Terminator 2.
What's wrong with Terminator 2?
Terminator 2 was just... the child acting is not great.
Do you know what? That's what does it for me.
The special effects are really dated. And it was just a bit, again, just hammy.
Yeah. We don't need to mention Aliens. We talk about it enough, don't we?
Well, yeah.
We don't really need to mention Indiana Jones, do we, either? Because we know those films are basically perfect.
This is true.
They are, but again, I'd say I wouldn't put that film in this genre.
What?
It's an action-adventure
Yeah,
sort
you're
of...
correct. We're not talking about those sort of films,
We're
are
talking...
we?
No, we're talking full-on meathead
It's
action.
got to be,
action.
muscles to the extreme, fuck off
Cop
great big
on
guns.
the extreme.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, do you know what? Do you know why you're right?
soldier on
You
the
know why
run.
you're right in what you've just said? Because it was weird that Harrison Ford was in Expendables 3.
Yeah.
Because it didn't feel like he needed to be in it, because he doesn't fit in that genre.
No. He's
He-
always
he
done
can
action...
He can act for a start.
He's done action roles, but they've generally got quite an in-depth... Well, a script that stands up quite well.
The Dolph Lundgren and Brandon Lee movie that I was trying to remember earlier, I've just Googled it. It's Showdown in Little Tokyo.
Well,
That sounds bad.
It's a martial arts movie. You should watch it. If
There's
you
a lot of
fancy something
crossover
from
between
the
martial
80s.
arts and action films, isn't there? Like, you wouldn't put Jackie Chan movies in that category, but I bet there's some belters from him as well, isn't there?
And who's the other guy? The guy that's in the Expendables.
Jet Li.
Jet Li, yeah.
Yeah, I think probably Jet Li probably made movies closer to now than the 90s at this point.
Yeah, true.
yeah. So, have any of us out there... Because I think you all know I'm a connoisseur now of the really bad action movie. And the badder the better for me. But do any of you two have ones that you know are really dreadful?
Yeah, just tell us some of your top ones of those.
One that stuck with me as a kid, I'd say, was Sakura Killers. And that was just mental. That was trying to be Miami Vice with cowboys, but with a secret... What I loved about the 80s films, they just kind of brought ninjas in, but like they were a secret evil superhero force that nobody ever knew about. And it's like, ninja, what is a ninja? Ninjas are the ultimate fighter. And it was just, they would just go on and bang on about how ninjas could do anything. And in these films, they fucking could. And there's this whole opening sequence to this one film. There's a couple of ninjas, they break in, they steal a Betamax tape, which is just brilliant. And you see one of those brown little leatherette cases as well. And some of the methods they use to get into the building are rolling out a red carpet, coaxing a security guard to walk out onto it, then pulling it from under him, cracking his head open on the floor. They strangle one guy to death with a necklace, and then they climb a wall with their bare hands backwards. So if you can imagine how Spider-Man used to walk up the wall in the 70s, but backwards. So he's facing out, and he's just shimmying straight up that wall, and it even goes a noise as he runs up there. It's just amazing. And then they can throw the smoke bombs, and they turn into just ninjas, or they disappear, or they turn into something else, or a waste bin. Just anybody out there, you can get it. I think it is on YouTube. In fact, there's a whole channel dedicated to really bad ninja films. That's one of the better ones of the lot.
What's it called, sorry?
Sakura Killers.
Sakura Killers.
Yeah, we'll post a little link or something. It's a belter.
Okay.
Samurai.
So that's one of my favourites. But have any of you two got any that you remember? Just maybe as a kid you watched it and thought, this is the best thing, and you watch it now and you go, fuck, what is that?
I just can remember a bad movie that I thought was brilliant because Mark Hamill was in it. And I think it's called, I don't know, Silpheed or something like that.
It's called Slipstream.
Silpheed's a video game, isn't it?
And interestingly enough,
he's like a bounty hunter or something, and it's just not very good.
It's not very good, but it's very relevant to us and our podcast. Do you know why?
No.
Because the plane that's used in Slipstream, the one with the weird little like spherical glass pod on the front of it, is the Isle of Wight's spotter plane for the Isle of Wight Prisons Service.
Really?
Yeah, if prisoners get out, that's the plane they'd use, and it's got like a, some kind of a magnifying floor or something, I don't know, but yeah, that's the Isle of Wight spotter plane.
A magnifying floor?
No,
Sorry,
just,
that's amazing.
Now it just has a camera equipment in
that's right,
lens.
yeah, true, yeah.
Seriously, it had a lens?
It had some sort of a lens in the floor, I think.
Or
that might have just been my dad telling me stupid stuff.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
So yeah, Isle of Wight spotter plane. For those of you that live on the Isle of Wight, it's in a 1980s movie called Slipstream. You're here for trivia, you get trivia.
I'm going to check that out.
That was one of those films that had a way better box at the video store than it ever had.
Yeah. See, that's a thing as well. The box art back in the day, it was brilliant, wasn't it? Some of it.
True.
It's just some of it. I've even got a book at home, and it's all VHS covers, all the illustrations all the way through, and it's just incredible. Some of it.
Cool. They'll probably be worth something as well, won't they?
Original VHS. If it's the ones you would got from a video shop, the first presses, yeah, they're quite sought after. I don't know if they're worth much money, but they're quite sought after. People like them now. I'm one of those. I've got a couple of my favourite bad movies on original library release.
Have you got any others that were like crazy bad? Like
well, there's one that's well known out there, and it is incredible. I think there's two conflicting stories. Either 89 or 91 it was made, but it's Samurai Cop. I think I've mentioned this a couple of times.
Samurai
Cop, and it's just a masterpiece in bad movie. It's just I don't even know where to begin with it. The dialogue.
The title rings a bell, and I'm wondering if it's because you've mentioned it.
I have mentioned it a couple of times. It's just legendarily bad. It's just amazing. But there's
I recognise the video cover now. Looking at it, it's a cop, a New York style cop with a samurai sword and a man's head in his hand after he's cut his head off.
Well,
is that right? Because I recognise that.
That is that's heavily ripped off, actually. That's a rip-off from, I think, a film that came out beforehand called, I think it was Psycho Cop. I think it was something like that, or Maniac Cop. That's a rip-off from Maniac Cop. Yeah.
Is that? Oh, I remember that. That's right. Okay, that's a cop. Does he die at the beginning or something? And he just becomes like Frankenstein.
Yeah. Now that cover for Samurai Cop is a rip-off from it. It was such a low-budget film.
That's just like a silhouetted half-face type thing.
Do you want to
isn't
know
it?
the tagline for Maniac Cop?
Go on.
You have the right to remain silent forever.
Yes.
See, that's what we miss.
Taglines.
There you go.
In space, nobody can hear you scream.
In fact, I think Maniac
Bruce
Cop...
Campbell is in Maniac Cop.
Bruce Campbell, and who else? Is it...
Tom Atkins, it says here.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Robert...
Is it Bruce Campbell that plays the Maniac Cop?
There's a Maniac Cop 2, by the way.
There is, yeah. There might even be a third one.
We have to start doing some... videos to these. There's that Samurai Cop. The name for one of the actors is in both credits for both those films.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Robert Zadar.
That's it, Robert Zadar. Now, he was the Maniac Cop in Maniac Cop, but he's also the main protagonist in Samurai Cop, and he's amazing.
Okay.
He's just amazingly... Yeah, just amazingly bad. But again, I think the actors probably had better in them. It's just the scripting and supposedly the guy who'd filmed it, he filmed it within several weeks and then called everybody back 6 months later and said, "Oh, there's loads of stuff I want to put in." Well, the lead actor had shaved all his hair off by this time.
Right.
So he wanted it intercut.
A bit like Fan Force Stick.
It's just mental. You'd have one scene followed by another scene where he's wearing a wig, and it's quite obviously a really bad wig.
Right.
And then straight back to the long hair, then back to a wig again, in seconds. And just the dialogue is just amazing. Just amazing. You won't find it in any other film.
So this is in Maniac Cop?
Nope. This is Samurai Cop.
Samurai Cop.
Maniac Cop is a bad action... It's a legitimate bad action horror movie.
I remember watching it.
But
What about monster movies? Do we put any of those in this bag?
Unless
Predator's got to be one, isn't it?
Predator would be, because that's one of the only films that crosses that boundary. Now I wouldn't put Alien in that.
Predator's one of the most perfect films ever made as well, isn't it?
It's very, very good. It's still very, very watchable, isn't it? It ticks along quite nicely.
It's so
it's
well
quite
paced.
long, isn't it? It's got a good long run time.
It's just 2 parts as well. It's just 2 clearly distinct movies in that film.
Yeah, true.
So let's blow everything up and now let's get hunted.
Yeah, up until the point where they find everybody skinned hanging in a tree. That's it. Turning point right there, isn't it? Yep. I think.
No, that's quite early on. That's what
Is it?
throws you a little bit off.
Who's the
you
guy?
Think it feels like a gun. What's really clever about Predator is it starts clearly with a spaceship landing on Earth, and you're like, whoa. They didn't have to open the movie like that, did they?
No.
And then
no, they could have taken you completely by surprise.
Then then it starts with a standard action movie where we've had to get the best team in to do the biggest gun off possible. Where they do that thing where they just clap hands and it's just a shot of just 2 of the biggest biceps ever on
the
screen.
Shot of them flying in on helicopters.
Yeah, and then they go in on a helicopter.
Creedence Clearwater Revival playing.
And and then they just find the other team completely skinned alive, and you're like, so then you get little moments of the Predator, but then it just is a massive action movie, and then they get picked off one at a time.
Who's the actor that's in it that gets killed off really early? Who's
the director?
Yeah.
Duncan Jones or something, isn't it? Not Duncan Jones.
Shane Black.
Yeah.
That's the guy. So Shane Black's character in Predator was killed off really early for a very good reason. So originally that part was going to extend through the film a lot more, and the production team brought on Shane Black specifically because they'd seen some of his work. They recognised him as a good on the spot writer, so they brought him onto Predator, and during shooting said to him, guys, you know what, Shane, we need some something here. Can you help us out with doing some writing? And he said, no, you're paying me as an actor. No, definitely not. So they killed off his character and sent him home.
Brilliant.
He's been in loads of things from those 8 eras.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've totally glossed over someone who's referred to as one of possibly the greatest action hero of that period. But when I think back, he's probably guilty of some of the worst films of that time.
Go on.
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
Some dreadful films.
Yeah,
he
it's
did.
very true.
Octagon. Fucking dreadful film.
I'll tell you right now.
Which one? What was that?
Octagon.
Octagon.
The Octagon.
I don't think I've seen it, no.
There was one, it was like an Indiana Jones thing as well. I forget the name of that one. He's on the quest for something and he's dressed as Indiana Jones. And it's terrible.
Chuck Norris and fucking hell, the guy from, we spoke about him earlier, the guy from The Great Escape. That's who I know him as.
Steve?
No,
No?
not Steve McQueen. The guy who, the other action star. From like more 70s and 80s, like Chuck Norris and who's in, is it Death Wish?
Oh, Charles Bronson.
Yeah, see, Charles Bronson and Chuck Norris, yeah, you'd go in the video store and they'd have about 10 movies each, wouldn't they?
Well, how many Death Wishes was there? There's got to be, 4 or 5 of them bloody things?
Never interested in any of them. I don't think I've ever seen a movie with Chuck Norris in unless it was a Bruce Lee film.
Dirty Harry. That
Dirty
series.
Harry. Okay.
Great series of films.
Yep.
But would you put them as an action or
No,
just
they're
a thriller?
cop movies.
I'd say it's a thriller cop movie, yeah. There's action in them, but they're not. What we're talking, yeah. But so what would you define as the epitome of the cheesy, dreadful, full-on, all-out, balls to the wall, muscle glistening in the moonlight?
Rambo 3.
No, like Rambo, just all of the Rambo. Like the first Rambo is a really clever, well thought out movie.
First
isn't it?
Rambo's
true.
brilliant.
Very true. Yeah.
The second one's like the epitome of like 80s too much. Like if a movie, you can just see the producers have done so much cocaine, they're like, yeah, let's put that in. Lots of 80s movies are like that, aren't they?
True.
But they're just like,
see, for me, it would also
just don't kill him with an arrow. Kill him with an exploding arrow.
Yeah.
Right, okay, have another line.
See, it needs that, but it also needs the weird love interests that are going on. It needs lots of neon. It needs some, like you say, a crossover, either cyber ninja or robots somewhere. It needs some fucking weird Uber boss that they have to get to, or some Uber baddie who's an arch rival from way back in Nam.
Can we put Escape from New York into these?
See, no, I think that's too legit. Again, that's too legitimately a good film.
And therefore Big Trouble in Little China.
One's a science fiction comedy, the other one's I see what I mean. Like, you wouldn't, like Terminator and Terminator 2 we wouldn't be having conversations about those in this category if Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't in them.
Yeah, true.
Because they'd be science fiction movies.
Yeah.
And I think Escape from New York and like Big Trouble in Little China don't fall into that category. I think Kurt Russell doesn't fall into that category either, does he?
Not to my mind. He's an action actor, but
He's a bit more
not
like Harrison
primarily.
Ford, isn't he?
Yeah, he's more of a Harrison Ford person. Yeah, I mean he's a legitimately bloody good actor.
Okay.
And I think Big Trouble in Little China has a lot of those aspects of the period. I mean, especially the three storms. That's just they are just classic 80s henchmen.
I love that movie.
I love that.
I've not seen it in such a long
time.
time.
It's on Netflix, mate. You need a Netflix login. Yeah, because there's just so much on there.
So did you have something in mind then, Paul?
No, I'm just wondering if there's something I missed, and I'm trying to think of one that just epitomises that. And for me, it's going to be probably a Van Damme movie.
Do you remember a movie called Ice Pirates? I think it was called.
Ooh,
that sounds really terrible.
It was. Yeah, it's kind of like an erotic space opera.
Is it anything like Space Mutiny?
Don't know.
Anybody out there want a really bad sci-fi action movie? Space Mutiny.
Okay.
Yeah, belter.
When did movies grow up? When did these movies go away?
I don't think they ever did. They evolved into something else.
No,
it had to be faster pace and slicker photography.
Like, clearly, because we're talking about the 90s as well, clearly the line that was drawn in the sand was The Matrix, wasn't it? That changed cinema.
It was, and then you got
didn't it?
It did, but then you got Jason Statham come along And I
Oh,
think
yeah, I
he's
suppose
now
so.
doing the cheesy action movie.
Yeah,
Oh
true.
God, he's like Crank. He has to electrocute himself, doesn't he? Just keep his like weird electronic heart ticking.
I've
or
not
something.
seen that actually,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've heard
And
about
then
this.
he did the really bad. In fact, I mentioned it earlier. The Death Race 2000.
Yes,
He did a remake of that, and
yeah.
it was fucking abysmal.
Oh,
Stupid baby
you know
brain.
we've totally missed off this list.
Go on.
No One Beats Me in the Kitchen.
Oh my God, he did some of the best ones.
Who's
Stephen
that?
Fatman Seagal.
Steven Seagal. My God, yes, naked women coming out of cakes.
That, to be honest, the only real good one out of all of those movies is Under Siege, isn't it?
Oh, I like.
Is that the one on the boat?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's mostly because of Tommy Lee Jones as well.
I like Nico.
Yeah.
Nico's my favourite, I think.
Which one's Nico?
Is it? It had two names. It was Nico. Not Born to Kill. What was it? Not License to Kill. Something to Kill. But it was really good.
I remember his martial arts being very good.
It's
at the
where he
time.
walks. I think there's one scene from that film. He walks into a little grocery store, and he's being held up, and he just walks straight over to the gunman and just takes him on.
Right.
And the gunman doesn't know what to do, and he says, "Look, I'll tell you, I'll make it easier for you. I'll get down on my knees." So he gets on the floor. He says, "Just go on, come for me, just do it." And this guy goes, "I don't know." I put one arm behind my back, and he just still fucks him up. And the thing is, I love about him, he's the real deal. He's what, 6th dan, isn't he? 7th dan, something ridiculous in Aikido. Yeah,
Right.
He's just
Who Stephen Seagal is?
Yeah,
he
these
literally
videos
can fuck
on
people properly up, can't
yeah,
he?
these videos on where he's done tournaments and he's got like 3 or 4 people coming at him and he's just throwing them around like rags.
Okay.
It's just incredible.
So seeing him and Jackie Chan have a bit of a tussle would be pretty cool.
That would be incredible, yeah, because they're both legit. I'm
Right.
not sure. Apparently Van Damme is, or what is it? JVCD?
JCVD.
JCVD. VD. He apparently...
Sounds like a venereal disease. Anyway.
Isn't it? He apparently has
Jesus Christ venereal disease.
He recently...
Holy AIDS, we call it.
The holiest of AIDS. AIDS.
He recently went into some fighting championships, didn't he?
Who, Van Damme?
Yeah, Van Damme literally became Bloodsport.
Oh, shit.
He started actually doing it and training up for fighting.
Oh, God.
So I think he does have proper martial arts background. But
it'd be interesting to put some of these people on, what's this show called, American Ninja or...
oh, that'd be
No,
amazing.
what would be better is if we did what's the
I know what you're going to say.
one where
Deadliest Warrior.
Yeah, Deadliest Warrior. We've spoke about this before, haven't we, Chris?
Is this the show where you have to jump across loads of assault
No,
courses?
Deadliest
No.
Warrior is where you go, would a samurai beat a Spartan?
Okay,
And then they get all their weapons, and then then you do that, and you go, would a... And you obviously assume they're all in their prime, and you go, would a Arnold Schwarzenegger take out a JCVD?
So it's like role-playing those characters, though, isn't it? To a degree?
What, on the show, you mean?
Yeah. Is it not?
What, the real show? The Ninja
What you're talking
versus
about.
Spartan or
Yeah.
something? No, what they do is they take the weapons, test the weapon, see how effective the weapon is.
Right.
Normally on a dead pig.
On a dead pig, it's always a dead
Okay.
pig. They've got a thing about chopping dead pigs.
Right.
And then they'll take their other weaponry and then they'll take the war tactics and their mindset.
Tactics, mindset, training.
And then run it through
their armour and stuff.
Then run it through a computer simulation.
Right.
Which is bollocks. But then they just... so it's strategically setting off against each other and their secret weapons and things like that and secret tactics.
But they do things like they'll go, right, Genghis Khan versus a Zulu warrior. And then they make a TV show out of it. Because if they'd have done Zulu warrior versus British infantryman with a Lee Enfield rifle, it wouldn't have been much
We
of
already know that
competition.
one. Yeah.
It would be like Indiana Jones versus the
Yeah.
Arabian guy, wouldn't it? With the sword.
I can't believe I've forgotten about this because I literally downloaded it to watch the other
Wasn't
day.
that ad-libbed, that scene?
Yeah, it was actually, yeah. Because the gun
He's really
didn't go
hungover
off
or something,
Oh,
or
no.
poorly, isn't he?
It wasn't... Was it that one where he shot him that was ad-libbed, or was it the one where he didn't have a gun? He didn't have a bullet in his gun. Because they do that scene twice, right?
Yeah, because the bent thing is it's a prequel, but it's a gag that you only get if you've seen the thing that happens afterwards.
Yeah.
That's always breaks me. He goes for his gun, it's not there, is it?
Is it?
In
does he not have
Temple
a gun
Doom,
at all?
he goes for his gun and he's just not got a gun.
Ah, okay.
And he has to fight that guy with a fucking massive sword again.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a perfect
It's
films.
a prequel, is it? To
Temple Doom
Raiders of the
happens
Lost Ark?
in like 33 or something, or
Okay.
28, and then Raiders is 35 or something.
Okay, I've never noticed that.
What was I going to say? Yeah, special film, The Running Man.
Mate,
More relevant now than ever, because we're probably only a few seasons away from Survivor, from it being real.
Yeah, true. I was going to mention Running Man at the end as one of my favourites of all time. It's fucking amazing. I love it.
That's actually...
Oh, that's another cracking line. Jesus Christ, guess again.
Brilliant. That has got so many great one-liners in it, hasn't it?
Every time he kills one of the bad guys, Buzzsaw, can't
Did he
remember.
say the buzzsaw? What was that one?
He had to split.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember. I don't want to spoil it, but don't tell me how it happens. But I can't remember how the hockey guy dies. I think he just gets strangled, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, it's in barbed wire, isn't it?
Yeah.
But again, I think that's probably...
Oh, it's the hockey player, the one with all the lights around him.
Yeah, see, I think... No, that's
that
the electro dude. Yeah,
that's
rapey electro dude.
The other thing is he completely breaks the fourth wall in that film where he goes, "I'll be back," because he always says that, and the other guy just turns around and goes, "Only on a rerun because it's a TV show."
Yeah.
Do you know? I think that is the film actually that probably ticks all the boxes I mentioned.
Oh yeah,
earlier.
because it's brilliant and bad.
It's brilliant. It's bad. It's got the neon. It's got the TV over the top. It's got the advert bits in it.
Yeah.
It's got the weird love interest. It's got the geeky nerd guy who becomes a warrior but then gets slaughtered at some point.
Yeah.
It's got everything. It's got the weird protagonist in it.
It's written by Stephen King.
Have you ever read the book?
King? I didn't realise that.
Yeah, it is.
Here, let me do this in a particular voice.
It's written as a pseudonym.
Written as one of as Richard Bachman, which was when he was writing so many books that he had to just write under a different name. And actually, in The Running Man, the book, it's not just a game show; it's the whole of America.
Oh, really?
Yes, and at the end, he's been gut shot and all his stomach is falling out and he's trying to fly a plane, and then he just flies the plane into the TV studio. But it's a very good book. You can get it in a combined volume with The Long Walk, which is a fucking fantastic book.
I'm going to do this, actually. I'm going to actually grab myself some Stephen King, because...
No, read the Bachman books. It's actually called the Bachman books.
Yeah.
Now, it's a combined volume, and all of the books in there are fucking brilliant.
I wonder if you can get them as audiobooks.
Probably.
That's the way to go, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm loving Ready Player One as an audiobook. That's not for this podcast, but yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Let's talk about Ready Player One some point. No, not.
But not on this
now.
podcast.
Right, so shall we now just officially nominate the SNEW Network's best worst action movie as The Running Man?
Okay.
I concur.
I think
you're right, Paul. It ticks every single box.
Does.
And it would make a great Halloween costume.
Yeah, especially that's a really good.
It's just a really glitzy motorbike suit, isn't it?
You'd have to be pretty stacked for it, wouldn't you, really? But yeah, and maybe wear a courgette down your pants just to.
It'll only get CGI'd out, won't it? I reckon, yeah. Okay, then the Running
just
Man.
Quick mention about the Running Man. I like the exploding head collars as well they wear in prison. There aren't any walls. They just can't escape because their necks will blow up.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got so many... Yeah, it's got all the right ingredients.
It's so poignant because basically the President of the United States is basically the character, the game show host at this point, isn't he?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And
which is similar to the president we've got at the moment. Well,
that's what I meant. Literally, the president of America at the moment.
This said about exploding neck collars. Do you think Suicide Squad should have been made in the 80s?
It probably would work better.
It would have been
cool.
I think,
a better
wouldn't it?
movie, wouldn't it?
If it were just a cheesy 80s movie.
It would probably be as bad as it was as this new one, but be more entertaining and fun,
more forgivable. Yeah.
There we are. Right. Do we have any worst 80s movies then? Worst 80s action movies? Ones that you really dislike?
I don't know.
It's so easy to forget them, isn't it? That's
I think
trouble.
they just got progressively bad.
I'd like to say, I'd like to mention...
You get into the 90s, you got Face Off and Con Air and things like that, and you're just like...
Maybe that's where the line in the sand was drawn, because
Nicolas Cage, and then the other side of that is The Matrix.
Yeah.
Again, I wouldn't put him down as an action hero, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, but they're action movies, aren't they?
They are, but...
What's the one where Sharon Stone shows her vagina to a room full of people?
That's
That's a
just a-
thriller film, and
That's a thriller, psychological
Sliver.
thriller.
What's
No,
it
it's
called?
not. It's Basic Instinct.
Basic
Basic
Instinct,
Instinct.
yeah.
Sliver's the one where she's just getting voyeured all the time by one of the Baldwins.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's got to be another contributing factor here, hasn't it? Because those sort of psychological, like action horror movies, we had a big phase of those in the 90s. Because I remember there being a big block of that sort of film.
I think that was...
I think some of that comes from Silence of the Lambs winning Best Picture
Yeah, maybe.
because it's a fucking masterpiece. But
Yeah.
But again, if you watch it now,
no, it's.
it's not really
I
great.
beg to differ.
Really.
I think if you sat and watched that now, it's still a fantastic piece of cinema.
See, I think
Maybe
it
I was
has,
in a bad
I don't
mood.
think it's aged well, but it's for its time it was groundbreaking. But
Yeah.
when you look at it compared to now, I don't think it would hold up.
It puts the lotion on its skin.
Yes, it's got some really good ideas, and it's. But again, the one before that, because that was technically a sequel, wasn't it? If you've watched Manhunter,
Manhunter, I've never seen. I've
That's-
seen Red Dragon.
see, Red Dragon's a remake of Manhunter,
Oh, is it? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
and that's much better.
So is
It's
that
very 80s, but it's for what it was doing at the time. It's very good.
Fuck me, yes. Fuck me. I'm in the mirror, looking at myself in my man flesh. Fuck me. Fuck me. Fuck me.
Fuck me.
what's that music?
That's the scene where he's in the mirror. He tucks his bit between his legs and goes, "Oh, fuck
Oh
me."
yeah.
Oh,
fuck
just
me.
I've got my penis tucked between my legs.
Rubs the lotion
on his skin or else
he gets the hose again. Oh, fuck me.
Brilliantly ripped off in Clerks 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there another Hannibal Lecter movie that was a remake, or
Hannibal Lecter is played by another actor, and he features in Manhunter.
and that's the only one that was
The
remade?
I think there was one before that, and I think that was called Red Dragon, but it
Red
was like
Dragon's
early
the
80s.
first book.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Red Dragon's the first book, and it was made into a movie called Manhunter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or is it Manhunt? Or Manhunt?
Manhunter, yeah.
Or Manhunt?
It's Manhunter.
Who knows? Gone off topic again.
But yeah,
For
going
sure.
back, so when you say we were talking about, can we have the worst? Actually, are we talking worst?
Just don't like it, just because it's
Hate
crap.
it.
Yeah.
I'd go back personally. I know we've not all seen it, but I think it's going to have to be one of the Chuck Norris films. It's going to have to be something like The Octagon, or something like
I've
that.
never liked him as an actor, and I
I'd
don't
I'd like to
think...
nominate Universal Soldiers, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
The second one's really bad.
Jesus Christ Venereal Disease and Dolph Lundgren couldn't save that movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
RoboCop 3. It's got
Right,
to be up there, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, I'm quite happy to take RoboCop 3 as the worst
Yeah, I'm with you on
film
that.
of the...
Yeah.
So the best is The Running Man.
Worst is RoboCop.
Like
3.
when we say The Running Man's the best, it's objectively the best action movie
It's
because things like Predator, Terminator, Aliens, which we didn't mention because we talked about in a million podcasts, and things
it
like
best epitomises, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
the best. It's the best.
It's not the
epitomi-
best. It's just if you had to have a snapshot of that era.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good one to start with.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay.
That, and if you want something a little bit more accessible and less of an action film, but definitely an action movie, Top Gun.
No, I've never been on board.
I'd
with
like
that.
to watch Top Gun again, just to relive, just to see how bad it is, because I remember when I was about maybe 7 years old, it was the best, and like me and my friend used to do the high five and low five thing, and like
See, I'd say watch that again and then watch the Quentin Tarantino breakdown of the film. It's
Okay.
on
How
YouTube.
gay it is.
Yeah, it's basically a love story between two
Iceman
fighter pilots. Yeah,
and
Iceman and
Maverick.
Maverick.
And
See-
they're so gay for each other that they can be each other's wingmans at any time.
when Top Gun 2 arrives, the sales or the downloads and the streams for Top Gun are just going to go through the roof.
They are,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's going to have to go some to sort of capture that same sort of mood, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll give it that. I never really enjoyed the film, but it again, that's an epitome of that 80s what's the term? They sort of like that, like sort of over the top glory rock music that happened
but it's
at the
not
time.
that. It's what I've just realised, and again, it's not the genre we're talking about. There was a period, probably because of Top Gun, where there was shitloads of military plane
The glory
movies. There's one with, again, I think with one of the Baldwins, where he's an Apache pilot and he's got to get through the troubles of being an Apache pilot. There was one about a kid who ended up flying his dad's F-15 or F-18 Hornet.
Was that called Firefox?
I don't know. I can't remember. But he ended up having to get in the plane because nobody else was there at the airbase after the disaster. Then there's the one where Danny Glover's like the dude in a Ace. And again, I think the movie's just named after the plane. Like I think it's something to do with Danny Glover being an A6 pilot and helping Gene Hackman out of Vietnam.
Right.
Yeah, there's just a period of those, wasn't there?
And they kind of carried on as well. You had one quite recently called Stealth, didn't you? When was that released?
Yeah, I didn't watch.
I didn't watch it, but did you? It was the...
All got better effect shots than that last scene in Dunkirk, though.
Yep, true. The premise of Stealth was it was a plane that could be controlled with the mind. So they didn't actually have to have an onboard pilot. But then it started to think for itself.
Oh, no, there's that movie about the stealth plane. I think you're thinking of Firefox or something like that was the one with Clint Eastwood in, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, you're
right. Stealth,
yeah,
the one where
Clint
the
Eastwood,
plane had its own AI and then the plane went rogue.
Yeah. Is that Firefox as well? Is that the premise of Firefox?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long
I kind of remember the cover, the front cover from the video store.
Yeah, similar planes.
But going back to Top Gun, I wouldn't even put it in the category of the sort of weird military. I'd put it under the category of like glory film, which oddly enough, Tom Cruise starred in an awful lot of them. So like Days of Thunder,
yeah,
and Cocktail.
Yeah,
it's that sort of.
It's just not too much coke. It's 80s cocaine. It's 80s money and cocaine will solve everything.
That's
movies.
Yeah, that's it. But there was also, what was that other one? Officer and a Gentleman.
That's not a...
I would have said it's not.
That doesn't
not
fall into those categories at all. It's a very good film, that.
Yeah,
and it's also
it's got that big glory power ending, hasn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, we've digressed, and I think we've probably.
I think that's a subject for another time, isn't it?
Cool.
Do any of you remember a film called The Last Boy Scout?
Yes.
And do you remember what happens at the end?
Is that the one where he punches that guy's nose for his brain?
Yeah, maybe. But I'm thinking of just all I can really remember is the end scene where somebody's going to get assassinated. Let's assume it's the president. Yeah, he's at a ball game. Yeah, and I can't even remember who's in The Last Boy Scout. It's probably someone like Bruce Willis and token black guy. And the president's going to get sniped. So the only way to stop the president getting sniped is to throw the most perfect quarterback pass so that you hit the president in the face with the American football at the same time as the bullet travels towards his head, so the American football blows up in his face, but after it's knocked his head out the way. How amazing is that? You don't get any more 80s than that, do you?
That's fucking superb.
America!
And the perfect note to finish on. Right, let's wrap this up. Paul, where can we find you?
About 1987.
Yeah,
I'm still in 1987.
You'll find me between 1980 and 89. You won't find me anywhere beyond that.
And the links to your shops?
They are down below.
Curiosity.
Curiosity and Rocket Punch Collectables. Please pop by, have a little look, see what bargains I made.
Buy some stuff.
Yeah.
Ross?
You can find me on PlayStation Network. I'll probably be signed in, but just watching The Running Man.
Who can blame you? And
or
me.
No Retreat, No Surrender.
And me, I'm chained to a desk bloody editing this podcast and hanging out on the SNEW with the Crew Facebook page. Do drop us a line if you have any questions for us at any time, or if you'd like to add to what we've been talking about this
please
evening.
Contribute. It would be nice to feel like this conversation goes in both directions.
Yes, this is true.
And not the ramblings of three middle-aged lunatics.
Anywho, yes, so you can listen to this podcast and our other podcast about movie news, the snooze button, which is released on a Tuesday. You can listen to both of those on the SNEW with the Crew podcast feed, which of course you can find in all the usual places, including Soundcloud, Stitcher, Libsyn, YouTube, etc. You know where to find a podcast. So, we should say thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a listener. We've been SNEW with the Crew. We'll catch you next time.
Goodbye.
See you later, people, and remember, never surrender.
Ta-ra.
No retreat, no surrender.